Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics and Living, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to posit the question, how is it with so much information at our disposal that Catholics know so little about their faith and what we can do about it? Now before we begin, let's start with a prayer. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti. Amen. Gloria Patri Filii et Spiritui Sancto, secut eram principio et nunc et semper et seculi seculorum. So I'm pretty passionate about this, given that I like apologetics and evangelism. And we have episodes here in the past how we need to immerse ourselves in a Catholic world and get away from the kind of the secularism that we see in television and movies and social media. And we've talked about the Benedict option, whether or not we should just get our families and just run to the hills, like Iron Maiden said, and just stay over there, whether or not we should fight for the future of this country. And just think of it this way, look, with the internet, we have the accumulation of all the knowledge that has been accumulated throughout human history. We have access to it on a phone or on a tablet. Anything, botany, geography, history, astronomy, physics, and yes, religion, Christianity. We have all this at our disposal. I remember as a kid growing up in the 80s, we had, of course this is before email, before internet, I had the World Book Encyclopedia. My parents had this. It was an encyclopedia, A, B, C, D, and I loved it. I was such a big nerd in high school because I was overweight and I didn't have friends. I talk about on my other YouTube channel how I lost over 100 pounds and have kept it off for 30 plus years. I didn't have a lot of friends, so I would just read the encyclopedia, and I loved the encyclopedia. But even then, I mean, you look at the encyclopedia of the 1970s and 1980s, it wasn't nearly what we have today. And so you would have to pay for the encyclopedia, or you would have to go to the library and go to the reference section and look up an atlas book and, all these things that we just are like, what? You didn't always have Google Maps? What? And Google Maps is awesome. You could zoom in, zoom out to any place in the world. So you think like vis-a-vis religion, Christianity, in particular Catholicism, we have at our disposal on our phones anything we want to know about our faith, the history of it, saints of any century, popes of any centuries, doctors of the church of any century, theology, commentary on scriptures by Augustine or Albert the Great or St. John Chrysostom, homilies by St. John Chrysostom and other famous people, and so on and so on and so on and so on. How does papal infallibility work? Why do we believe in the Marian dogma? Like anything you can look up, anything. And you could argue that Catholics in America today know the least about their faith ever. And that might be hyperbole, who knows? We can't go back in time to 1830s New York City when all the immigrants were coming, all the Catholic immigrants were coming, who knows? They were certainly more devout and pious than probably we are now. But why is that? Like, why is it that we have this at our disposal and yet we know so little about the faith? Well, I think it's a priority, right? It's all about priorities. And we are way too much of this world than in this world. And as it is, as the church militant, as the laity, we are of this world. The clergy is supposed to be in this world, but not of this world. But as it is, we're way too much of this world. And if you look at what do most people use computers for? Sadly, it's porn, gaming, social media, spending hours on Reddit, looking up stuff that's a waste of time. Most people are not spending their time. You know what? I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks learning everything there is to know about genetics. I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks learning everything to know about Newtonian physics. It's just not that. And it's a question of priorities and the lack of priorities that we have. You could go up to most men today, name me 20 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And most men who at least watch NFL could do that. Then you can say, name me the 4 original doctors of the church. You go to any Catholic. Most could not name that. I don't even know if most Catholics can name the 4 Marian dogmas or define the hypostatic union of Christ. And why is that? We're all literate. The majority of us, of course, are literate. It's lack of priorities. We prioritize the finite amount of time that we have in a given day to things that ultimately are not that important. And I'm not saying that leisure and relaxation is not important. There's definitely a time to unwind. I recommend green therapy. You've seen on my shorts, I have a pond in a Sacred Heart of Jesus fountain in the back of my house. I love to spend time over there. I have an altar. I like to spend time over there. Yes, I watch Gilmore Girl reruns. It's a simple pleasure of mine. I will watch TV on occasion. But we have too much leisure. There's just too much leisure. Too much leisure. And we just don't make our faith a priority. Think about it. If you look at the typical Catholic, what is their prayer as a family? Bless the Lord, and these are good brothers, even rather Christ the Lord, amen. That's it. And I don't mean to cast aspersions on that, because at least we're praying. But we need to do more than that. We need to do more than that. And yes, there's a certain traditional Catholicism, a certain element of that are like, Gregory, what are you talking about? I mean, we are immersed in Catholicism. I get that. Sadly, you're the minority. We need more people to become like you. But the majority of Catholics are not that way. The majority of Catholics, as we know what the studies show, don't even believe in the real presence. 50% of them believe that we should have homosexual marriage. A large majority believe in contraception or have used contraception in their past. They are in rebellion from Catholic teaching largely because they've just embraced secularism and cultural Marxism and are out and actually in outward rebellion. We have episodes here. There's no such thing as a Catholic liberal. And it's the sin of pride, right? I know better than the church. I know better than the church. So a little of it is just pride and just outward rebellion. And the one is just like ignorance. They're material heretics. They just don't know any better. They just don't know any better. And yet they don't have the interest to know better. So they might believe like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with contraception. And part of you is like, well, brothers and sisters in Christ, look it up why the church teaches that it's wrong. But they're not interested in that, right? They'd rather watch Real Housewives. So how do we change the compass? How do we redirect well-intentioned Catholics to care more about their faith and to use the finite amount of time that we have? Well, I think you have to meet them halfway. I think judging people, and I'm trying not to judge people who are like this, but judging people, oh my God, I'm the better cat. Look at me, I fast 2 times. Who said that? The Pharisee, right? Look at me, I fast 2 times a day. I give up. Look, I'm the perfect Catholic. Oh, bad Catholic, good Catholic, bad Catholic. Come on. Talk about lack of humility, right? That's not the approach. How do we meet people halfway? I mean, certainly you're going to find evangelists that are like, okay, everyone's on TikTok. Let's do more Catholic TikTok. I get it. You look at apps like Hallow. Hallow is an attempt to meet people who are, I would say, way too immersed in social media, spending way too much time on their phone. But an app like Hallow is a place where they're trying to meet people where they're at on apps and social media and so forth. And kudos to them. If that's a good place to go. That's what St. Paul did, right? St. Paul was evangelizing. When he would go to Athens, we did go to all these pagan places. He would appropriate as much as he could without compromising his own faith to kind of adapt to the culture, because he knew he was a better evangelist if he could adapt to the culture. So I get that. The answer to this is, I don't know. If you look at the trends, and we've done episodes here on the Pew Research Studies trends on Catholicism and religion in general, they're staggeringly sad. It makes me melancholic. The trends are not good. And Pope Benedict did predict this 15 years ago. He said the church is likely going to get smaller and leaner. I mean, he used the word leaner, but smaller. It's going to contract. And like scriptures predicts, a lot of people are going to apostatize, leave the faith. And maybe that's what's going to happen no matter what we do. And I think that doesn't allow us to be complacent. I think that we still need to fight. We still need to educate. As I've talked about before, like if everyone would just create a YouTube channel, or a Catholic YouTube channel, not on gaming or something like that, but everyone just do their little that I don't have degrees in theology. I was motivated to do this, just the parable of the talents. I was reading it one day when I read scripture. I'm like, man, I have some knowledge. I need to do something because when I'm judged, You know, it's like perfect imperfect contrition. Well, it's kind of a imperfect contrition. It's like, when I get judged, I don't want to like be judged poorly for not doing more. So this is my way to give back. But if every Catholic was evangelizing in their own way, podcasts, YouTube, you know, getting out where the social media is, where people are, imagine how we could affect more change. But certainly, if you're a parent and your children are young, you gotta get the social media out. You gotta control what they're seeing here. You gotta get them out of public school. We've talked about this, that only 6% of Catholics who go to public school are practicing their faith 10 years later. So again, if you care about your faith and you want your kids to have the faith and propagate the faith to your children, you gotta get them out of public school. I mean, Catholic schools are not much better, it's 12%. But I mean, we have to put in measures to make our life more Catholic and immerse ourselves in Catholicism. And certainly the obvious thing is to not have unbridled access to the internet for children. And for you, if you notice that you're gravitating a lot to Pinterest and Reddit and TikTok and Netflix, I think we really have to, as I talked about before, tithe 10% of your day, your awake day, to Catholic stuff. So, I mean, it's so hard, but get off the screens. You know, we have such a major screen addiction in America. Go do works of mercy. Go volunteer. Go, of course, to daily mass. If you got time to spend 2 hours watching something on Apple Plus, you got time to go to the Adoration Chapel. It's all about prioritizing. And all these other things are siren songs, like the sirens from Greek mythology. And they're all transient and they're all temporary. But the one thing that's not is our faith, is death, judgment, heaven, or hell. These are not. These are things that are going to affect us for eternity. So we need to kind of, just like the lotus eaters, to have two Odysseus, the Odyssey references. Like when Odysseus and his sailors are eating the lotuses, right? They just don't realize they're getting sucked in. They're getting sucked in. They're eating all this. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. We got to get out of that. And be like, oh my God, we're just eating lotuses and wasting my time. What am I doing? I'm endangering my salvation by being in this quagmire muck that is secularism today. And I need to redirect. I need to be like the desert fathers of old and just like live in a cave for 30 years and eat like roaches and read the Bible. I mean, I'm not saying that, again, that's a hyperbole, but just we need to redirect and look at what's important. We have all this information on our phones and tablets. Let's use it the right way. Let's use it the productive way. Let's use it in a way that would glorify God and get out of this devilish muck that we're in. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.